All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Innovations in School Redesign. And our session today is on teaching and learning in the context of school redesign. We can go to the next slide. Today, we're very excited to have two presentations from two middle schools, both from Jacksonville, Florida. And they're going to really share with us some really innovative practices and programs they're doing in their schools that we can all learn from. After that, we'll have some discussion and resource sharing, and we'll end with some upcoming events. As always, there's a diverse group of people here from all kinds of places sharing their wisdom. Please share your ideas and resources and ask questions via the chat as we go along. There'll be a little time for Q&A after each session and then at the end for everybody. And at the end of the session, as always, we'll share out all the resources shared and all the materials and PowerPoints used today. All right. In our series on school redesign, we've been sort of focusing on the four areas that are sort of more or less, and to a very large degree, actually under the control of schools. There are things schools can do to redesign and improve and accelerate their impacts and outcomes for students and their teachers. That's how adults are organized. That's how students are supported. That's how we build pathways to post-secondary success. We've gone through several of those already, and today we're focusing on teaching and learning as we work our way through the four drivers of effective school redesign today. So teaching and learning actually, right, is where the rubber meets the road. We can have a exciting building where everyone likes to show up in the morning and where everyone likes to be, where everyone feels supported, where everyone feels like they're going somewhere good, they have a purpose and a pathway. But we've still got to teach and we still got to learn. And that's the core of the enterprise of schooling and education. So we're excited to really focus on that today. And we know in our learnings that there's many different ways to influence this. Everything from lesson design and lesson delivery, but also in terms of engaging students, because we know learning is social and emotional, and you've got to be engaged and focused and be able to think, for the lesson to succeed. We also know it's important for teachers to feel like they have agency and impact and effectiveness, and there's room for creativity and collaboration. So there's many ways that we can redesign for teaching and learning. We're really excited to learn about some really great ones today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jerry, and she's going to introduce our great collaborators and presenters today.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, I am super excited to introduce Principal Parker and Principal Stansel to you, as well as we have a student from Ocean Way with us, and we have one of our educators at Ocean Way, Miss Jones. And so they're going to introduce themselves a little further when it's their time to share what's taking place at their schools. But we both, Bob and I, have known Principal Parker and Principal Stansel for almost 5 years now, because we've worked with them through the Network for School Improvement, and now they're part of our partnership with the Grad Partnership through a program in Jacksonville, Florida, with their United Way called Achievers for Life. And what I can share is I'm delighted that I was able to be on both of their campuses at the beginning of January. And that was really exciting for me to be reconnected to them, because what I know about both of these leaders is really, in order for you to be the best at teaching and learning, for what Bob was describing, to have that innovation and that engagement and that creativity as an educator in a building, you really need to have leaders that are learners, that they're teachers, and that they're very strategic, thoughtful, caring, and student-centered. And so that comes out through both of these leaders, and you're going to hear about that, because Principal Stansel, love. She is guided by love, and she tells her kids that every single day. And they both have strong relationships across their schools, their communities, out with their connectedness in that community, their families, and they know the importance of connectedness. They're creative, innovative leaders, and that is in turn what you see in both of their buildings. You see that creativity and that engagement, and you're going to see and learn about how they're turning that love and connectedness at the student level into the teaching and learning. So Dr. Parker is going to lead us off today from Matthew Gilbert Middle School. She's going to talk about their Wow Wednesdays, which is a program that they've developed around reading and listening across the content areas. And so I am just really honored and humbled to have both of them with us today. Dr. Parker, I'm going to turn it over to you. And one thing before I turn it over, you can see that both of these leaders are in their offices and they are busy administrators. So thank you for making the time today, both of you. We really, really appreciate it.
Great, thank you, and hello again to all. I am Dr. LaTanya Parker. I am the extreme proud principal at Matthew Gilbert Middle School. It is on the east side of Jacksonville, Florida, near our stadium where the Jaguars play. So just to give you an idea of where we are located in the city. And just excited to be a part of this. We have done, I come to a school that was in what we call turnaround status, where they had been a consistent D school for 3 or more years. And last year, we improved our school grade to a C, and we are striving for that B this year. So a lot of work went into the last 5 years to ensure that our teachers and our students were well equipped with what we needed to make sure that we were continuing to improve and engage the students while we were doing that work. So Wild Wednesday, this came about because I have done work in the turnaround before when I was in elementary. So when I got to Gilbert and I realized where we were in that turnaround status, I thought about Wild Wednesday, which stands for the way of work. So one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure we were aligned with our school improvement plan in order to align with all content areas, not just reading or not just math, but just make sure that we were aligned. So what we did, I presented this to the team and we moved forward with Wild Wednesday. And it looks different in different schools based on what your goal is, but we were able to ensure that our students were able to, and our teachers understood the process and the goal for this process. So the purpose of the way of work of Wild Winds is to strengthen established to provide intentional, targeted academic supports that directly strengthen our students' performance across all content areas. The initiative ensured that reading and listening strategies were not only isolated to one classroom or subject, but embedded school-wide through a cohesive instructional practice. By aligning our literacy routines, academic discourse, and our data-informed strategy. So it connected every moving part, teachers, leaders, students around a shared goal, which was to definitely look at our data, allow that data to drive our small groups, our targeted groups, to put these practices into place, to drill down on what our students needed to be successful in all content areas. So across the content areas, the teachers intentionally integrated research-based literacy strategies to strengthen the students' comprehension and critical thinking skills, which is a part of our school improvement plan. Students were engaged in annotation strategies by highlighting key ideas, academic vocabulary. We know our students, Gilbert has a history of reading being one of the lower areas of growth. We always trend in historic data with math and improving, but reading was always either stagnant or just a minimum growth. So we looked at those research-based strategies for reading that we could implement across each content area. So again, with academic vocabulary and textual evidence and ELA science and social studies texts. And through reciprocal teaching, predicting, questioning, clarifying, and summarizing, students were able to participate in structured academic discourse that deepened their understanding in the complex concepts across discipline. The content-specific vocabulary routines were embedded to explicitly teach and reinforce the discipline base that we were trying for students to learn, especially with those different terminologies. And so for our closed reading, we implemented using text-dependent questions, requiring students to return to the text for evidence-based responses. And one of the things that we learned about our students was that they were not having that accountable discourse. So we gave them sentence starters, conversation starters, for them to be able to have that accountable discourse. So for our listening strategies across the content, teachers really embedded structured discourse and processing routines to strengthen the students' engagement and comprehension, using accountable talk stems, as I just talked about, giving them those cues, those cards to use to have those conversations to guide respectful, evidence-based dialogue, while structured academic talk protocols such as think, pair, share, turn to your shoulder partner, were ensured that all students were equitable and had equitable opportunities to process and articulate their thinking. A lot of times students are able to read something, but they're not able to articulate it, summarize it, so that way they can share out what they were learning. And then we also included across the school was note-taking framework, which included Cornell notes and content-specific graphic organizers. That was a non-negotiable, if you will, that we had students had to have a journal or they had to have a composition notebook to either make it an interactive journal where they were taking notes on guided notes to support and organizing the concepts and making connections as they were learning. So the implementation across the content, this is just a small scope of what Wow Wednesday ensured was that the literacy was not confined to ELA. Disciplinary literacy requires students to read, write, speak, and listen, like mathematicians, scientists, and historians. They have to do all of the above. So we created a coherence across the instructional day where we would see these things in each content area. So this is the artifact of our Wild Wednesdays. This is 2 math classes and then 1 social studies class to show that how the students were engaged in those conversations, how we grouped them to ensure based on their data set to ensure that they were working in a cohesive group and the teachers were guiding and facilitating those groups, not being the sage on the stage, if you will, but wanting to make sure that they are listening to what the students were saying and utilizing those strategies that we talked about. So as a result, what we learned was it demonstrated that measurable growth in our school-wide data. It confirmed that intentional targeted support leads to meaningful gains in student achievement. We learned that with the interventions and strategic, data-driven, and consistent implementation, it produced positive academic outcomes for our students. More importantly, this experience, it reinforced the success is not accidental. It requires alignment. And once we were all on one accord with understanding the importance of implementing those instructional interventions, the professional learning, and the student support, it connected a cohesive manner for us to make an impact that was significant to our growth. Therefore, we saw an improvement in our school grade, and we attribute this working together and looking at data and having those conversations across the school as a part of that growth for the overall school improvement. So we did survey our students. We surveyed them to see if this was something that they enjoyed, they were engaged, and we got the results here. Just to give you some of the words, we did a word about they were better prepared. They saw that we were identifying their learning needs. They were confident in using their own data because that was something that we also required, that was a non-negotiable. They had to have individual student data chats. They had to look at their data to know why they were in the groups that they were in, to have a better understanding. They saw that they got support. So just to give you an idea of getting the feedback from the students as it relates to implementing this with Fidelity. We tried it 1 year just to introduce it, to get our bearings, how it would work, and then we went full implementation the next year, and making sure as a part of the NSI work, it gave us those steps for us to even to get to this point where the students can give us some concrete data. So the impact on teaching and learning for us was when the literacy was embedded school-wide, the students experienced consistent expectations. It made a difference in the structures, and participation increased with our students, and all voices were heard. We heard from the students, we heard from the teachers, we heard from the leadership team, the instructional team, and how we were able to make a difference with being consistent in the way of work. And those were the research that I referenced in the one of the slides. And that's it.
Thank you very much. That was fantastic. I encourage people, if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat, and we'll read them. I'll just start it off by saying, so like this happened on Wednesdays, and it made Wednesdays different from other days. Did you start getting any comments of people saying like, why can't we do this other days, or like one day is enough?
So we looked at our schedule. At the time, we were on a 4-5 period day. We changed our schedule, I believe, 3 times since I've been here. So we started out on 90 minutes, then we went from 90 minutes to 60 minutes. Then we looked at the number of electives that we had, because we created our entire school-wide Wild Wednesday small groups where we were pulling. I had a small group. The assistant principal had a small group. So we had to strategically look at, again, our data set based on our district assessment progress monitoring data to determine what kids we wanted to target first, how we wanted to target them, and what groups they would participate in. And then we did it by the subject area. So teachers, after and that particular time, we had 2 days a week where we were doing every week we were doing PLCs. So PLCs then ceased after Christmas break in January, so we could add additional days if teachers wanted that time to pull their groups additionally. So Wednesdays was our sacred day. That's non-negotiable. That's our day. That's our time. But if you want an additional time with your groups based on what you were seeing, and then the progress monitoring that we were doing based on the benchmarks we were covering when we had those students, that then determined if the teachers were able to pick up an additional day, but it was during their planning time that they would have had the professional learning groups.
Great, thank you. I think I saw one question in the chat there. Did I see it, Greg or Anne?
Yes, I just asked the question, Dr. Parker. You had mentioned data points to group the students, and I wondered if you could elaborate and share the data points that you use to group the students.
Yes, so we administer what we call DMs, which are district monitoring assessments, at the beginning of the year, again in the mid-year before we leave for Christmas break, and then at the end of the year when we come back. We also use the state assessment monitoring piece, which is our progress monitoring, which is also administered around the same time. So we use those 2 assessment data points to determine our bottom quartile students, our students that are proficient, and our students that are progressing. So from there, we determine which students that will be in our denominator for our overall school grade, and we then create those small groups. We also look at the benchmarks that are assessed, because if the students are not mastering that benchmark, and it's a benchmark that has already been taught, then we want to make sure that we come back and remediate that benchmark to ensure that the students will be proficient in that particular benchmark, especially if it's a benchmark that they're going to see again on the test at the end of the year. We want to make sure that we are preparing them for any skills lesson that they may need that remediation. So we use those 2 points of data in particular to decide who those bottom quartile students will be, who are proficient students, because we don't want to forget about our proficient students. So we do create a group for them as well, but that's just to give them an additional review of any benchmarks, but more so we focus on those students that are performing at that bottom quartile, because those are the students that are right on the cusp that we can definitely get to proficient with some additional supports.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm sure there'll be some questions at the end. And with that, I'll bring it back to Jerry. Thank you.
And I think at this point, we're turning it back over to Principal Stansel. She is the principal at Ocean Way Middle School. And as we shared, she has a student that's going to introduce herself, as well as Miss Jones, who is one of the teachers at Ocean Way, and they're going to talk about building their culture of success through student clubs. And then Principal Stansel is going to share how that's tied into their teaching and learning through student voice and student ownership at Ocean Way.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. I'm going to go ahead and share. I think. There it is. See if I get it right. Can you see it? All right, perfect. Okay, yes, as she said, my name is Elizabeth Stansel. I am the proud principal of Ocean Way Middle School. This is my 5th year. And when I got here, we had a lot of discipline issues. We didn't have a school grade that year. It was the hold harmless year for COVID, but we would have been a D. And the school had just was really struggling, a lot of fights, a lot of things like that. And one of the things that wasn't happening was we had athletics, and athletics is still very important at Ocean Way, but we didn't really have other ways for kids to connect. As you know, pedagogically, kids, when they come to middle school, they start to get more peer focused, less focused on their parents and their families. And there wasn't a way for kids that weren't athletic to connect to school, to their peers. And a group of teachers, myself, got together and we started forming clubs. And I'm going to let Leanne and Ms. Jones talk a little bit about the clubs, and then we'll talk at the end about some of the organizational strategies that we used.
I'm Leanna Blau. I'm an 8th grader, and this is my 3rd year being at Ocean Way Middle School. I've been in STEM for about 2 years now, and all I can say is it's been 2 wonderful years being in STEM.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ms. Jones. I'm a math teacher here at Ocean Way. I've been here about almost 4 years now. I got into the clubs because, as Principal Stansel said, the kids who are not athletic, my child attended school here, and she was not athletic. So I got to see it from both sides, the parental side and the educator side, on the need for the students to feel they belong, even if they are not athletic.
Improving student outcomes. Clubs foster student success and attendance. Ocean Way Middle School's after-school clubs enhance student academic performance and attendance by promoting a culture of connectedness, encouraging full potential, and developing positive relationships among peers. One of the things I liked about being in different clubs like STEM and band is that I got to build many relationships and friendships with people from different grades, as our clubs and different like after school activities, they were composed of different grade levels, and that gave me the opportunity to connect with other grades and see how they did things. And it just like let me create a lot of new friendships and meet a lot of new people. Key benefits: celebrating student growth and success, academic improvement, engaging in clubs significantly enhances academic performances through hands-on learning experiences and collaborative projects. Um, Hands-on experiences like competitions or like concerts, like we get to learn more stuff about it, and it, like I said before, it like gives us opportunities to build friendships and stuff, and it also connects more and more people throughout the things, and it promotes other people to see what we do at the school. In, Increased attendance. Students are more motivated to attend school regularly, contributing to higher attendance rates and improved engagement. Stronger belonging. Clubs foster a sense of community and belonging, promoting positive peer relationships and leadership opportunities among students. Here are some STEAM clubs that we feature at our school, like robotics, where students engage in hands-on projects and competitions, coding, where members learn programming languages to create applications, entrepreneurship, where students develop business ideas through innovative thinking, and arts, where creativity flourishes through various art projects. We also have gardening, where members transform kitchen waste into fresh food. Supporting the whole child, encouraging full potential in relationships. Full potential. After school clubs empowering students to explore diverse interests, fostering critical skills and knowledge that enhance academic performance and personal growth in a supportive environment. Positive relationships. By participating in clubs, students build meaningful connections with peers and mentors, cultivating a sense of belonging that enriches their middle school experience and encourages collaboration. Um, Before I joined any clubs, I was kind of like a shy person without I didn't have many friends, but once I joined clubs, I started to get like to learn more like I started to meet more new people and build more friendships. And I also got closer to a bunch of my teachers too. And I got closer to teachers that I didn't even have, and I thought that was pretty cool. Progress charts. Demonstrating success in academics and attendance. 20% academic improvement, increased student performance. Um, this is like how teachers check up on students if they notice like if they're having trouble with a certain topic in their class or having trouble in like understanding the working class, they can like ask if they need any help or like areas for improvement. 15% attendance increase, higher school presence. This is where like if a if a teacher notices a student that has been absent for a bit, they could check up on them and ask them what's going on. And not even just teachers, the person's friends or the student's friends check up on them too and about their whereabouts. So it connects people in more and more ways too. Club activities in action. Here we have our gardening club. You can see the before and after where the students cleaned out the garden and how they transformed, and they were really devoted to it. The second picture, um, the second picture at the top, we can see students like working on.
We're suturing.
They were suturing for like students who are interested in the medical field. They had a doctor come in and teach them about stuff, and the students said it was really fun. This picture at the bottom, we get to see students coding and see what they do. They get to program stuff and build stuff that they'd like to do. Club expectations, standards for student participation, maintaining grades. Students must keep their grades up to participate, foster. Students must keep their grades up to participate, fostering a commitment to academic success and responsibility. Positive behavior. Upholding respectful behaviors ensures a safe and supportive environment for all, promoting collaboration and friendships among peers. Consistent attendance. Regular attendance in both clubs and classes encourages routine, accountability, and a strong connection to the school community. Scheduling flexibility. Supporting diverse student interests. Club variety. Clubs meet Monday through Thursday, allowing students to explore various interests without compromising their participation in band, which is held on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Um, I'm in multiple clubs, but I'm also in band. But the schedule we have, it doesn't interfere with my time in band and my time in those clubs since they're held on different days. So I can participate in band and learn like new things that I need to, while also going to other clubs on different days to learn what they have to share too. Integrated practices. This structure promotes a balanced schedule, enabling students to engage actively in clubs while maintaining commitment to band, fostering a stronger sense of community and academic motivation. Student leadership in action. The first picture, I was at a meeting and we had to decode this puzzle. I used my critical thinking skills along with my friends to decode the puzzle, which was actually really fun. And we got to think and we got to share ideas with each other and try to figure out ways to solve the puzzle. And in the end, ended up we managed to solve the puzzle and complete it together. The second photo, it shows the STEM lab. It shows how students can engage in the STEM lab and have fun with like 3D pens, 3D printing, and all the other stuff the STEM lab provides. Building strong connections among students enhances collaboration, fosters friendships, and creates a supportive environment, all of which are essential for academic success and well-being. Those pictures, I'm in both of those pictures, and it was a really fun. Both of those pictures were really fun since I got to be with my friends while also doing the things I like math counts, while like also being with my friends, so it made it funner. The second photo, I was at the Kennedy Space Center, and I also got to be with my friends, and we also got to learn both. We learned more things about the Kennedy Space Center and what they do, and it was a fun experience overall. In that picture, we were at an expo. We we got to promote the school and explain what they do, and our commitment in school provided like enabled us to show other people what we provided and the things our school offered. And it was really fun as it was also interactive, so people can interact with our stuff and also see what our school provides. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to take a moment to thank Leanne in front of you guys because she is very nervous. Y'all can't see it on this side, but she is very nervous. Leanne is our school's chief science officer, which you saw in one of the pictures where she was talking about the coding. So I work with, it said Manga Linden, but we call her Miss Stewart. And we work together to create the schedule for the kids to be able to participate in different clubs on different days. We do have students who are also athletes that want to participate in clubs as well. So we have to sit down and integrate the scheduling. So we did meet prior to the year this summer, and we really planned out the entire year so that the kids can be well rounded, as we said, the whole child. So we have kids like Leanne and the other 850 in the school that we have in her mind because there's a club for every child. Every child should feel like they belong. So if you can think about it, we find a way to incorporate it.
Well, and I want to thank the two of them because they are such great ambassadors for this program. I think the thing that is unique here is the clubs are all integrated. They do not act independently. They do an end of year leadership awards for all clubs. And I'm talking like 20 clubs. The clubs, it's just been because the club leaders are together. Additionally, they've come up with the standards for checking on the students' grades, checking on the students' attendance. And for many students, coming to school, not coming to school, but if I don't come to school, I can't go to dance club or I can't go to robotics or I can't go to art club. So for us and for the learning, they make connections with other adults in the building. They make connections with other kids in the building. They find kids like them. They get to test and try, which is, I think, a lot of what middle school is about, is testing and trying and kind of figuring out who you are. So those things are all really, really important for our kids, but also obviously for their attendance and learning. I also think as a leader, we have to have our ears to the ground. There are a tremendous number of opportunities for outside organizations. In Florida here where we are, we have 5,000 role models for mentoring our young men. We have Generation Wow for mentoring our young ladies. We have Girl Scouts. We have, there's opportunities. They provide stipends. They provide materials. They provide support. And I think that's been really helpful in growing the number of clubs that we have. The other thing I will say is, as Ms. Jones alluded to, the clubs change. We may find a club doesn't have a lot of interest, and we may have a group of kids that are really interested in something. And so the adults in the building are very responsive to that. But ultimately, I want kids to feel connected. I want them to say, this is my school. I'm an Ocean Way kid. And I have somebody who listens to me, and I have opportunities to lead. As Leanne said, she has friends in 6th grade. She has friends in 8th grade. She's able to have connections with those and move into leadership, which she has done as she's moved into our clubs. So thank you. I know you probably have some questions, but I want to thank Leanne and Ms. Jones because they've done such a great job.
Yes, that was a marvelous presentation, everybody. That was very well done. I see there's some rich questions in chat. We'll get them to in a second. I just wanted to start out by just sort of giving a shout out.
Is he moving?
Smart and but doable way, right? It's a manageable way, right? Which is that we know for these sets of connections to build, you need shared experiences. And it's hard to get shared experiences in a traditional school day. So this is really a brilliant way to do that. We also know, as you could see, as our speaker highlighted, that there's a lot of deeper learning going on. And it reminds me of this big research study was done. They went try to go over the whole nation trying to find deeper learning and action. And the only place they consistently found it was in extracurriculars. And that really echoes that. And just the third point I'll call out into the questions is that what's also, especially middle school kids, they need places where they know that like they can try stuff, and if it doesn't work, they can try again, and they can learn by trying and not succeeding and keep going. But the stakes aren't so high that they feel like I can't make a mistake or I can't try if I'll make a mistake. So that really creates that environment where they can, build your robotics thing. If it wasn't great, you get to build it again, So I just wanted to tie those pieces together before we open it up to some rich questions, which I saw in the chat.
Well, I think that's really important. And the other piece is, at least where we are, when you get to high school, if you're in band, you don't have time for anything else. If you're in a sport, that's all you can do. And, middle school is about figuring out who you are. So I just love the fact that these teachers, club leaders have gone about making sure that, hey, you can do drones, and you can do robotics, and you can do sea perch, and you could, that they've put the clubs together in such a way, and you can still do band, and you can still do, because that's where I believe the strong build is. Because if I have to pick and choose as a kid, then I'm not going to be able to test and try like I need to. I also agree with you. I think oftentimes not every child's intellect is addressed in a traditional setting, classroom, where the clubs are a little more relaxed and a little more open. I don't have to raise my hand and feel like everybody's looking at me. I can kind of be over here working on my own. I think it's an opportunity for them to, as you say, fail and try again.
Elizabeth,
Bob, I've got some great questions from, is it Sion in or Sean in Los Angeles? Sean,
Yes,
okay.
thank you. You're right the second time. I got so excited listening to the presentation. Just the opportunities for middle school students and their teachers to engage and grow together. Some of the questions have already been addressed, so thank you for that. But I just wanted to give a shout out as well to the kinds of knowledge and preparation this is preparing them for, should they decide to pursue their education post high school, thinking about building that extracurricular record and proof that they've been proactively engaging in activities outside of their academics. So high five. Thank you.
I think also the cooperation between the clubs, like Miss Jones, for example, got the mayor of Jacksonville to come and visit for her club, but then she was able to invite other clubs to join. So there's some overlap, if you will, of opportunities because, hey, bring your club too and we can do this. So I think that cooperation between the adults is really important to foster those opportunities. And as they were talking about, like we had a doctor come and they were teaching them how to do suturing. I mean, again, thinking of postgraduate opportunities, I might never have thought I want to be a phlebotomist or a doctor or whatever, but here's my opportunity to try those things. And again, it wasn't just one club that participated. They kind of opened it up a little bit. So that has also, I think, created larger opportunities for the students.
One question I think that didn't get fully answered from Sean's list is whether you have partnerships with local businesses that help with sponsoring and donations and so on.
Ms. Jones, you want to discuss, since you've gotten a lot of those partnerships?
So yes, ma'am. So Ms. Stansel has done the part of getting the partnerships to create the stipends because although we're teachers, we are still slightly motivated by money. I have partnered with Publix. So when we have events, as she said, our end of the year banquets, one of the things is, eating. Parents, like I have, a couple kids. So I have gotten in Publix on multiple occasions to donate and sponsor food for us. And that is how we feed our kids. We have actually, I just recently teamed up with the Pizza Hut around the corner so we can have pizza on one night. We hit different businesses. And as she said, we work together. You stay on this side of town, I stay on this side of town. And we honestly, and I think what also created for us is also a friendship for the advisors of the clubs, which means we also are more motivated to come to work as well. So it's a twofold part. But we are actually friends. So we do work together to try to get those partnerships. Or, for example, I know that you're better with this, and this. So can you talk to this person while I talk to this person? So we actually do tag team businesses, all the ones that Ms. Stansel hasn't already hit up.
Also, we have partnerships with UNF and JU and Ms. Jones, if you can think of any that I didn't think of.
FSCJ.
FSCJ, our local energy, JEA, our local energy company, JTA, our local public transportation company. And they have been very helpful in sending, whether it was judges for STEM Cup or speakers. Oh, additionally, the Navy, don't forget the Navy, have all come out.
We forgot the city council.
City council, we mentioned the mayor. School board. So they've been all helpful. Like I said, whether it's judges or guest speakers, we've had opportunities like our local transportation authority has a riderless vehicle. They've come out and demonstrated. So those kinds of, we're just always looking for opportunities, whatever they may be, to provide some interesting outside information that we can't do. Additionally, I think, a lot of these organizations are looking for ways to engage, and we just have to tell them exactly what we need them to do. and they're very, very helpful.
Miss Dessa, we also had the news station come out.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody today. Give a huge shout out to our two school presenters. It was very inspirational because they were both did sort of major changes to their schools that had significant and important impacts. It came from within, from their faculty, from their ideas, from themselves. And were, challenging, but were doable. They weren't things that were so out there that no one else could do it. I think there are things that many other people could learn from and benefit from, and see how this sort of in-school innovation really has potential to really, really make the school the, very good place to be with really good outcomes. So I just want to thank you for that live demonstration of the power of sort of internal school redesign. Thank you. And with that, I think we just have a final, please, people feel free to share other resources, other ideas, other things you've seen, bring up any last minute questions. But while we're doing that, just some upcoming things. Our final series in our Innovations in School Redesign will be in end of March on organizing adults, how to use the talent in your building in the best ways possible. And we have a couple of podcasts, designing education podcasts, one on strengthening community collaborations, which was very much in line with our two presenters today, and also from Jacksonville, Florida, actually. And we have one coming up very soon on career pathways for all students, which includes middle school and high school and actually elementary actions folks can take. So those are some other ways to sort of continue the conversation. And with that, we'd like to say thanks again, everyone, for that amazing work you're doing and for sharing it today so well. And we say to all, onward, be well, and for the winter we're adding, stay warm. All right, take care.